Check this out, something that's not normally in my fridge for sure. For a chocolate milk aficionado, I know it's kind of horrifying, but it's finally time to break these things out. It's the Nesquik episode.
The Nesquik episode.
Okay, I'm at Lake Julian Park in Asheville, North Carolina. You can really do a Nesquik episode anywhere. I still get a lot of people who ask, I'll say, oh yeah, whatever, I've reviewed 1,500 or plus chocolate milks, and I still get people who ask, yeah, have you tried Nesquik? And it's like, God, yes, I've had it. I've probably seen it in all of the lower 48 states that I've been to. It's ubiquitous here. I've also had it, abroad in many different places, and I've had it in Canada, Mexico, the UK, Spain, Portugal, France, Switzerland, Czech Republic, Austria, Germany, South Korea, and that probably just scratches the surface in terms of their international reach. So Nesquik used to have a fat-free version. I think it had like a little bit of green on the label. That stuff was garbage. I can't find it anymore. Hopefully they don't make it anymore. But the normal everyday Nesquik that you see all over the place is this low-fat, just run-of-the-mill Nesquik. So let's have a go with it. Okay, well, it's got a very familiar taste. I've had lots of this over the years. I assume anybody that's been into chocolate milk has suffered the same sort of a fate. It's a signature taste, but it's not a good one. It's marginally chocolatey, if that. It's got even more of like a sort of a plasticky sort of a flavor. Not satisfying at all. And the texture, could certainly be a lot better too. It's a little bit on the starchy side. But honestly, the low-fat version, you could skip this. The best low-fat version I feel like I've had was in South Korea, and that might have just been because I came from Mongolia and had a lot of really bad chocolate milk there. All right, so in the States, we're lucky enough to also have this double chocolate version of Nesquik, which has kind of stood the test of time. You'll see that you notice the purple decals in this. And you also notice that it is, I don't know if it's twice as dark, but it is definitely darker than the normal Nesquik. But is it twice as chocolatey? Well, 2 times 0 is still 0. It has a stronger flavor, but it's just kind of, for me, a stronger version of the normal Nesquik flavor, which isn't really a good one. Again, it's that kind of plasticky, kind of a weird flavor that's sweet and not much else, not really a lot of cocoa. And the flavor that it does have, for me, only gets worse the longer it goes on. It gets worse as you go into the aftertaste. So in summary, the double chocolate Nesquik is marginally better than the regular low-fat Nesquik, only because it has a stronger flavor. Even though the flavor isn't that great, it does make you feel something, but again, it still suffers the same fate of having that kind of plasticky sort of a taste, and certainly aftertaste, and just a very forgettable low-fat texture. Another version of Nesquik that you'll find in the States here is this protein power stuff. It's protein fortified Nesquik, still low-fat. Boasts 23 grams of protein, but that's per bottle. Serving size is 1 bottle, but on the label it says the thoughtful portion is half a bottle. So they kind of want credit for both here. They want to tout the 23 grams of protein per bottle, but they're saying the thoughtful portion is half a bottle, which I guess would be 11.5 grams of protein per serving, whatever. All that aside, how does this stuff taste? Yeah, it's lightly sweet. It's still bland. I mean, it's not overtly chocolate at all. It's barely noticeably chocolatey. It's got a starchier sort of texture, which not surprising, being protein fortified. It's probably from the whey protein isolate or whatever's in here. It certainly doesn't taste that great. It is better than some of the other high protein stuff out there, like pure protein or whatever. Protein fortified chocolate milk drinks are not known for their flavor. In terms of national brands and a protein fortified version, I would much recommend the True Moo low fat, high protein chocolate milk. Much better drinking experience and flavor than this stuff, for sure. And lastly, kind of the whole impetus for doing this video is the fact that Nesquik came out with a whole milk version. Yeah, their packaging's on point, I'll give them that. This looks particularly attractive because it's got more brown on it, but with the yellow and the blue accents, it looks really sharp. I mean, obviously it's a big corporation that can put a lot of money into the packaging of it. Now, is this all dressed up with nowhere to go? I guess we'll find out. It's got somewhere to go, down the old esophagus. Shout out E40.
The 707 Marisco, hella fall back to floor terrace. Yeah. I pull a 40 out of my ball cap and then I flush it down my esophagus.
Okay, well, it's noticeably better than all three other Nesquik versions for sure. You can tell the extra fat content, you can tell that it's whole milk for sure. The chocolate flavor, I get a little bit less of a sweet hit, which is nice. That plasticky sort of flavor, I think still hampers it a little bit. I noticed that on the package, it had dark chocolate flavor, but it was on the piece that covers the cap, the piece that you're gonna peel off and throw away. So it's, I don't know that that's done intentionally, but it's kind of funny that if you were expecting a dark chocolate flavor, you're not gonna get that. If you're looking for a dark chocolate flavor on the national scene, I mean, definitely check out Cocoa Metro for sure. That stuff's great. I don't think that dark chocolate flavor claim is on here anywhere else. It's on the part you throw away. So it's not going to be top of mind, I guess, when you're actually drinking this stuff. You know, in my opinion, they're not trying to give you the best product. They may be trying to give you the best product within reason, within the certain cost parameters and distribution channel parameters that they can work with. But you know, you look at the ingredients: low-fat milk, sugar, cocoa processed with alkali. You could end there, in theory. Then we got calcium carbonate, cellulose gel, natural and artificial flavor, carrageenan, salt, gel and gum, cellulose gum, and then vitamin A and D. So yeah, I'm sure all the ingredients are in there for a reason. I'm pretty sure it's not there to give you the best flavor and drinking experience that you could. That's why, you know, you tend to like the local dairy stuff that doesn't have to distribute to everywhere in the world and keep it shelf stable and all that. So anyway, any gas station you go into, you'll see the yellow container and you'll know what it is. And in a pinch, if that's what they got, then that's what they got. You can drink it. Okay, I just wanted to take a quick time out to mention Nestle Chucky. Now, it's not a Nesquik product, but it is a Nestle product. And Nestle Chucky comes in a box, the way I've seen it, and it's super popular in certain parts of the world. I bought it in Japan, in Tokyo, when I was there, but it's a product of the Philippines. So big shout out to all my Filipino brothers and sisters out there. Philippines is a country that takes chocolate milk really seriously, and I love it for that. I spent like a week in Manila, so I got plenty of chocolate milk, but I only stayed in that area. I know there's lots more chocolate milk in Philippines that I've seen online all throughout the whole country. It's a big country, obviously, thousands of islands. So I guess I'm gonna have to come back and get it. But just want to give Nestle Chucky a quick shout out. It didn't line up well with my taste. It had kind of a weedy taste to me and kind of an oily finish, and not surprisingly, vegetable oil I think was one of the top ingredients. But hey, in a pinch, in a box, if that's what you like and if that's what you grew up on. A lot of people grew up on Nesquik in the States. If you grew up on Chucky out in Asia somewhere, yeah, you might be fond of it. But I know there's other better options in the Philippines and certain other parts of Asia, but hey, for the time being, if that's what you got, go with it. For Nesquik, to a lot of people, it means the powder or the syrup. I mean, the syrup's more of a later addition, but I think when a lot of people talk about, oh, I drink Nesquik for chocolate milk, I think they mean they mix the powder with regular milk and go that way. So these are certainly worth consideration. I don't review the powders or the syrups. There's a lot of them to do. And it's inconsistent with what you'd mix it with and also the proportions that you'd mix it in. So that's why I concentrate on reviewing the pre-mixed stuff. I know there's a pretty spirited powder versus syrup debate online and amongst chocolate milk aficionados. I feel like largely the powder syrup debate is often a Hershey's syrup versus the Nesquik powder. That's how I think most people interpret that. The consistent person in me wants to measure this stuff out exactly as it's labeled and say, you know, 2 tablespoons or whatever and 8 ounces of milk, but realistically nobody does that. So if nobody's gonna do that, we're gonna do it the way everybody does. You add powder, you add syrup, you probably put a little bit more in there than you should, but that's how people drink it, so that's what we're gonna do. I like to add the milk first and then the syrup. I guess it just makes a little bit more sense to me that way. It's probably more than I need. Okay, so probably went a little bit overboard in the syrup, but I'm human. That's what people do. Okay, so the powder versus syrup debate, or how these compare to the larger Nesquik portfolio. Start with the powder. That's what I'm most used to. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of good stuff. It's definitely a different flavor profile from the pre-mixed Nesquik that you get at the store that we reviewed earlier, and that's a good thing. I know in the ingredients it has spice in it as the final ambiguous ingredient. Cinnamon chocolate certainly is not a foreign concept for some cultures. I don't necessarily taste the cinnamon here, but it's got more of a malty flavor, not super chocolatey, but still pleasant. And some of that, again, I admit, is probably due to me having grown up on this stuff and pretty much liking it. And I'm also cheating a little bit because I'm mixing it with a delicious grass-fed, non-homogeneous local milk from Wholesome Country Creamery up in Hamptonville. How does the syrup compare? And again, I mix this pretty strong. I think everybody does. Nobody lays up on the syrup. So this is a much different flavor than the powder as well, and also very different in a good way from the pre-mixed Nesquik that you'll find in the stores. This is actually quite chocolatey and it's nicely smooth. Obviously the powder, you get some, not chunks, but it's got a grainier feel as you'd expect. This mixes in super smoothly. Yeah, it's got a nice hit. Quite chocolatey and definitely plenty sweet, but actually really good. And I definitely prefer this over the Hershey's syrup. I'm, of course, not doing it side by side right now. Going into this, I was expecting I'm gonna be a powder guy and I'm gonna proselytize powder over syrup for whatever reason. If I'm objective about this, this is better. This is a better drinking experience for me. For now, I'm sold on the syrup. This Nesquik syrup is actually pretty good. So in summary, I think your best bet for the entire Nesquik portfolio is going to be, whether you're powder or syrup, go with one of these, but get a local creamline milk to mix it with. I think that's going to give you the best results. So I'm kind of done the review, and I'm just drinking the rest of these before we go out to dinner. And I drank the syrup one first. Going back to the powder stuff, you realize like how relatively bland it is compared to the syrup. Now, I overmixed the syrup a little bit, but if you do that, you don't pay a price on the texture end. It's going to be syrup, is still going to be easily drinkable. If you try to put too much powder in, it's not going to mix in and you're going to end up maybe with some dry bits or a lot less of a smooth drinking experience. So you can pay a little bit of a price if you try to overdo it on the powder side. So maybe that's even more of an endorsement of the syrup. You know, just easier to mix in, whether you want light, heavy, or whatever, it can do it. Parts of Spain, as we saw with the Trumu, what the fuck? Sorry. We got black squirrels here. Oh, it was a cat. I feel better now that's over with. That shit was like lowering the rent inside my fridge for a while, and I even had a guy come over, bring me another chocolate milk fan, bringing me a bunch of chocolate milks from up in New York and Pennsylvania area, and I had opened my fridge and he's like, what's that yellow stuff in there? So it's not in there anymore.